Night falls as a black SUV crashes into a concrete embankment. John Wick, bleeding and exhausted, crawls out of the vehicle. In the distance, sirens wail. John slumps to the ground, pulling out his phone. On the screen plays a video of his wife, Helen, smiling and beckoning him. He watches in agony, clutching his side as blood seeps through his fingers. Days earlier, John is a broken man reeling from the death of his beloved wife, Helen. She succumbed to a cruel illness that he was powerless to stop. He stands at her rainy graveside in silent grief, stoic amidst sympathetic faces. Marcus, an old friend from John's past, is among them and offers a silent nod of support.
Just checking up on an old friend. Goodbye, John.
John had given up a violent life to be with Helen, and now that life is gone, at home, the emptiness is suffocating. Then one evening, a knock at the door reveals a final gift from Helen. A tiny beagle puppy named Daisy, delivered with a posthumous note of love. John, stone-faced but teary-eyed, cradles the puppy, Helen's last effort to give him hope. Over the next few days, Daisy begins to thaw John's frozen heart. She snuggles beside him at night and coaxes a faint smile as she clumsily pads after him. John takes solace in caring for the pup, a spark of light in his darkness. One morning, John takes Daisy for a ride in his vintage 1969 Boss 429 Mustang, a sleek, black muscle car that growls with power. At a gas station, a young Russian gangster, Iosef Tarasov, approaches with two thugs in tow. Iosef admires the Mustang, circling it like a predator and casually offers to buy it.
How much? She's not for sale.
Iosef, not taking no for an answer, steps closer and tries to intimidate the quiet stranger. John meets his gaze with icy calm and repeats himself in fluent Russian, making it clear the car isn't going anywhere. Startled that John understood him, and unimpressed by Iosef's posturing, John drives off, leaving the gangster simmering with offense. That night, John jolts awake to the crash of broken glass. Iosef and his goons have invaded his home.
Not sure.
Daisy appears in the hallway, tail between her legs, confused and afraid. Iosef sneers and gives a nod. In an instant of horrific brutality, one of the men kicks the whimpering puppy, silencing her little yelp forever. "No!" John roars. The intruders leave John unconscious on the floor and peel away in his beloved Mustang. John gently scoops up the tiny form, voice cracking as he whispers an apology to his departed wife. Tears of grief and white-hot rage spill down his face. By dawn's early light, John has dug a small grave and laid Daisy to rest beside a rosebush in the backyard. He stands over the mound of fresh earth, body trembling. In that moment, something long dormant inside him finally snaps. Everything he loved has been taken. John Wick has nothing left to lose, and the boogeyman he once was is now awake. In a clandestine chop shop across town, Iosef Tarasov roars in with John's stolen Mustang. Aurelio, the shop's owner, instantly recognizes the car, and his heart sinks.
Where'd you get that car?
He demands to know where Iosef got it. Iosef brags about how he handled the owner and even killed his dog. Aurelio's face hardens. He knows whose car this is. Without warning, he punches Iosef. The mob prince is tossed out, humiliated. Aurelio flatly refuses service. As Iosef and his goons slink away, Aurelio immediately calls John. That evening, John arrives at Aurelio's bruised and silent. Aurelio grimly tells John it was Iosef Tarasov, Viggo Tarasov's son, who orchestrated the attack. John silently absorbs this, thanks Aurelio, and departs. Meanwhile, word reaches Viggo Tarasov about his son's foolish attack. In his luxury penthouse, Vigo receives a call from Aurelio informing him that he struck Iosif. Why? Vigo asks in a low growl. Aurelio's answer is simple. Iosif stole John Wick's car and killed his dog.
Have you seen my son?
That night, Vigo drags Iosif into a basement and furiously beats sense into him. As Iosif cowers, Vigo recounts who John Wick truly is. John was Vigo's deadliest enforcer, a legendary assassin nicknamed Baba Yaga, the Boogeyman. Vigo growls that John is the man you send to kill the Boogeyman. In a hushed tone, Vigo recounts how John once single-handedly slaughtered dozens of men and completed an impossible task to earn his retirement with Helen. Iosif's face falls as he realizes the hell he has unleashed. Vigo, pouring himself a drink with shaking hands, knows there's no undoing it. John Wick will come for them. At John's home, the man in question prepares for war.
Something you know.
He takes up a sledgehammer and smashes through the concrete floor of his basement. He pries open a hidden cache. Inside lies an arsenal of firearms and stacks of gold coins. John methodically loads his guns, his resolve unbreakable. There's no turning back now. That same night, Vigo attempts to reach out to John, perhaps hoping to negotiate or apologize. John ignores the phone ringing. There will be no peace. Resigned, Vigo issues the order to eliminate John preemptively. Soon after, under cover of darkness, a squad of 12 armed hitmen infiltrates John's house. They move silently through the rooms, laser sights sweeping over corridors, but John is ready. In a blur of motion, he strikes. Chaos erupts as gunfire flashes in the dark. John rolls across a table, taking out thug after thug. His every shot finds a mark. Every move is lightning, fast and lethal. One intruder grapples with John, only to be flipped and dispatched with a knife. Soon, bodies litter the house. The invaders never stand a chance. Moments later, sirens approach in the distance. Amidst the carnage, John drags a wounded last attacker to the foyer and finishes him off. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. John, gun in hand and breathing hard, opens the door to find a familiar face, a police officer named Jimmy. The cop glances past John at the carnage inside. With a knowing half smile, he asks if John is working again. John replies he's just sorting some stuff out. Taking the hint, Jimmy wishes him a good night and walks away. Even the police dare not interfere with John Wick. With the raid neutralized, John contacts a special cleanup crew. Within minutes, a team of professionals arrives to discreetly remove the bodies.
Good to see you, John.
Paid in gold coins, John stands amid the aftermath, a lone figure in the dim light, more determined than ever. When Vigo learns his hit squad has been annihilated, he erupts in anger. Desperate, he places a $2 million bounty on John Wick's head, inviting anyone to take a shot. New York's underworld buzzes. Every assassin now perks up at John's name. To stack the deck further, Vigo reaches out to one of the best, Marcus, John's former mentor and close friend. Marcus receives Vigo's call and, after a quiet pause, accepts the job. The veteran sniper lays out his rifle, loading rounds with a conflicted expression. The line between friendship and duty is about to be tested. John checks into the Continental Hotel, an opulent hotel that caters exclusively to the criminal underworld. In the marble lobby, he is greeted by the ever-polite concierge, Sharon, who accepts John's special gold coin as payment for a room. The Continental has only one rule: no business, no violence, is allowed on its premises, under penalty of death. Here, even a man like John can catch his breath. As John heads to his room, he crosses paths with Winston, the Continental's enigmatic owner. Winston welcomes him back and, over a quiet drink at the hotel bar, slips John a critical tip. Iosif Tarasov is hiding at a nightclub called the Red Circle, under heavy guard. John nods in gratitude. He now has a target. Dressed in a sharp suit and armed to the teeth, John makes his way to the Red Circle that same night. The club is a neon-lit maze, with a spa in its lower level. Outside, a huge bouncer named Francis recognizes John. Rather than fight, John mutters a few words in Russian, suggesting Francis take the night off. The intimidated guard wisely steps aside. John slips into the club unnoticed. Below the pounding dance floor, ISF relaxes in a sleek bathhouse lounge, drinking with friends and flanked by bodyguards. John strikes from the shadows. He silently eliminates 2 guards in a locker room with silenced gunshots. Stalking through misty blue pools and tiled steam rooms, he catches one of ISF's cronies by surprise, taking him out quietly. When ISF leaves the pool to investigate the commotion, he locks eyes with a figure emerging from the dark, John Wick. Terror flashes across ISF's face. John opens fire and ISF's men scramble as chaos erupts in the nightclub. ISF flees for his life, bolting upstairs into the packed main club area. John gives chase, cutting through waves of henchmen as panicked clubgoers scatter. Gunshots ring out as John expertly cuts through the security detail. A bullet grazes his side, but he doesn't stop. On a balcony, the burly Kirill ambushes John, sending both crashing over a railing. John fends off Kirill, but the delay allows ISF to escape. Breathing hard and bleeding, John has no choice but to retreat. He has killed many of Vigo's men, but ISF slipped from his grasp. Wounded and exhausted, John returns to the Continental in the early hours before dawn. The hotel's doctor stitches up his injuries, warning him to rest. John eventually collapses into bed, trusting that at least here he is safe. As John sleeps, another player makes her move. Miss Perkins, a ruthless assassin familiar with John, sneaks into the Continental, willing to break the sacred no-violence rule for a doubled bounty on John's head. Perkins creeps into John's suite with a gun, intent on collecting. But Marcus, stationed in a building across the street, spots her through his sniper scope. In a split-second decision, Marcus fires a warning shot through John's window. The bullet hits John's pillow, jolting him awake just as Perkins opens fire. John rolls off the bed, narrowly dodging her shots. A vicious brawl erupts in the dark. The 2 assassins crash through furniture, exchanging brutal blows. John eventually overpowers Perkins, locking her in a chokehold until she submits. With Perkins at his mercy, John could easily end her, but instead he remembers the Continental's rules. He disarms her and forces her to talk. Gasping, Perkins admits that Vigo doubled the reward for killing John at the hotel, and that the crime boss's secret cache of cash and blackmail files is hidden in a church. The next day, John strikes at Vigo's lifeline. He arrives at a small Russian Orthodox church that serves as Vigo's secret vault. Walking straight into the midday service, with guns drawn, John frightens the priest and civilians. He knows what lies beneath the altar. John forces the panicked priest to open the underground vault.
Honestly, what do you...
Inside, shelves of cash, documents, and secrets of the Tarasov Empire stretch out before him. Without hesitation, John douses the contents in gasoline and sets everything ablaze. Flames billow from the church windows as John calmly exits. Moments later, Vigo's car screeches onto the scene. Seeing his empire's wealth and blackmail material burning, Vigo is livid. His henchmen, including Kirill and Avi, surround John outside the church. A furious gunfight erupts in the churchyard. John moves like a whirlwind, shooting several of Vigo's men in a fierce exchange. He even gets Vigo in his sights and wounds him in the side. But before John can finish the job, Kirill plows into John with an SUV, sending him flying. Dazed and injured, John is overwhelmed by the remaining thugs and finally subdued. Vigo has John bound and brought to an empty warehouse by the waterfront. 2 of Vigo's men begin to suffocate John with a plastic bag, while Vigo watches, still nursing his wound. Through gasps, John growls out the reason for his relentlessness. They took the last gift his wife left him. That puppy, John says, was his hope, a chance to not feel alone in his grief. He snarls that he will never stop until ISF is dead for what they did. Vigo, momentarily moved by John's anguish. Nevertheless, coldly orders his men to finish him off. John's vision darkens, and he almost slips into unconsciousness, until a distant gunshot cracks through the air. One of John's torturers drops dead, a sniper's bullet through his skull. It's Marcus, fulfilling his silent promise to protect John. Seizing the moment, John rips the plastic bag from his face and attacks, snapping the second thug's neck with a savage twist. Hero charges in, gun blazing. John, running on pure fury, trades shots with the hulking henchman. Hero is struck down by John's bullets before he can even realize the tide has turned. Seeing his most trusted enforcer crumple to the ground, Vigo stumbles back in fear.
John!
In an instant, John has him pinned against a wall at gunpoint, his hands steady despite his injuries. John's eyes burn with wrath as Vigo finally comes face to face with the specter he unleashed. Vigo has no fight left. He grimly divulges ISF's location at a safe house in Brooklyn. John spares Vigo's life for the moment and storms off to find ISF. At the safe house, ISF and a handful of remaining bodyguards anxiously await news, having heard of the church attack. They don't have to wait long. John crashes through their barricades like an avenging force. In a blur of gunfire, he eliminates the last of ISF's protectors. Now unguarded, ISF frantically fumbles for an escape, whimpering that it was just a dog. Unbeknownst to John, his actions have set off another tragedy. From a distance, Miss Perkins spies on John and Marcus after ISF's death, deducing Marcus's betrayal. She reports to Vigo, who reacts with vengeful fury. That evening, Vigo's men seize Marcus at his home. Vigo and Perkins savagely torture the veteran hitman for helping John. Bruised and bloodied, Marcus refuses to beg. He meets Vigo's eyes with defiance, praising John even as blows rain down. The old hitman grins through broken teeth, proud of the man John has become. To tie up every loose end, Vigo calls John to gloat about Marcus's retirement. When John hears the sickening details of Marcus's death, his hand clenches around the phone. His heart shatters anew. Meanwhile, Winston, the Continental's manager, deals with Miss Perkins' treachery. He lures Perkins to a quiet corner of the hotel with a phony assignment. There, Winston coolly declares her excommunicated. In an instant, 4 assassins emerge from the shadows and gun her down. Punishment for spilling blood on Continental grounds. With Perkins eliminated, Winston personally informs John that Vigo is preparing to flee the city by helicopter, giving him the location to intercept the crime boss. John, grief-stricken but focused, arms himself one last time and speeds towards New York Harbor. Vigo and his remaining henchman, Avi, race through the docks on their way to a waiting chopper amid pouring rain. The two men engage in a final brutal fight on the rain-soaked dock. Exhausted and injured, the two drop their guns and brawl with fists and knives. Vigo lunges wildly with a blade and manages to stab John in the abdomen. John grimaces in pain but uses the attack to his advantage. Instead of pulling away, he tightens his grip and pushes himself further onto the knife, surprising Vigo. With Vigo off balance, John twists the weapon out of Vigo's hand and plunges it into Vigo's stomach. Vigo gasps, collapsing to his knees as the knife buries deep. John leaves the crime boss coughing and dying on the rain-slicked dock.